Hi, Jake.
Hey,
How
Ian.
are you?
Good, man.
Oh, welcome. It's a bit early in the morning. What's this about?
You're not starting at 9? Yeah. Well, that's a
Yeah.
regular day enough for musos, I suppose.
Yeah, fair enough. Fair enough. All right. Well, we'll crack on because I know you've got a bit to do. And I do obviously have a few questions. So I'm Ian. I'll be doing stuff for Hi-Fi Way. First thing I'm going to start on though is when I went through your Twitter, I didn't, or X or whatever it's called. I didn't have to go far back to find that there's a pet project of yours that you're trying to get off the ground called Earthwalker. Right. So
Yeah.
I so I checked it out. Obviously, I went on YouTube and I checked it out. Um, what's the thought process behind that? Like, well, let's talk about it. Let's try and promote it while we've got the opportunity.
Thanks, man. Basically, I started it in 2016. 2017, I launched it. Yeah, it was right around the ARC time. And it was essentially because there was lots of people who were into hiking and into camping that were coming to shows and like basically saying, "Oh, we love how you love the outdoors, and we love the outdoors too." So basically, I started by making just a place where I was taking the community that I already built within Heart's Wake that were into that sort of stuff, and so that was the birthing of it. And so there was sort of there was merchandise that celebrated it, let's say, at the time, but since then
Mm.
the hiking then led me. We'll call it hiking. Let's say the camping, just basic camping and exploring nature, led me to be like, how can I immerse more with the natural world? And as I unlocked that, I realized it was through survival skills, which was like how to basically go out there with as little as possible and sort of have an abundant time and really connect with all of the plants and the animals and the elements in a whole different way. And so I've been on that journey for the last 5 years now, doing like teaching now, but I was doing the training for it, and I'm ready to sort of bring Earthwalker back um, under that element of interacting with nature on that level. So that's kind of was my process of putting the merch to the side while I did the training, and now like it's come back to be something much more whole in its offering.
So would you intertwine? But you already have in one aspect, which is one of my next questions, but which is we'll go into that a little bit then to what I'm thinking. So in Heart's Wake, are certainly a band that lyrically has spoken about the environment and the effects of mankind on there. The last album was the recording process. Sorry, excuse me, it was Carbon Offset. So in terms of Earthwalker and In Heart Wake, like with the exception of Jake Taylor, is there going to be then a kind of a merge of that as well moving forward?
I don't know if I think, I mean, at the end of the day, if I'm part of all of it, it will be all pieces of me in both. I don't think they're the same thing though. Like one's very much going to shows and like I'm gonna scream and sing what I'm passionate about. It'll come through. But I think there's more of a frustration and urgency perhaps in Hearts Awakes um dealings with nature at the moment rather than a celebration of nature, at least in the music now. Because there's
Mhm.
very much it's more of a wake up call, I think, is at play in the world and that level. And metal's a place where it can be like spoken about loudly and bluntly and in not angrily, but in a frustrating way. And whereas the other side of Earthward Camp, it's not that. It's the gentle connection, if you will, with all of that stuff. Because you have to go patiently and gently, otherwise you're gonna get burned real quick when you're doing that sort of
Yeah.
stuff. So I feel like they're different modalities, but they're both, at the end of the day, there is some lines.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The opposite sides of Jake Taylor. Fair enough.
The what, sorry?
It's the opposite sides of Jake Taylor. So this
Yeah,
is
yeah.
the rawness,
Yeah.
and then this is the compassion side.
Yeah, and I think that well, there's both compassion to both. I think because there's both just such there's probably a deep rooted like it's not deep rooted sadness, but there's is like a what a shame. It's such a beautiful like it's everything is literally out the door there like for us to thrive on, but we just lost all of those fundamental skills and on the other hand, a lot of it, an appreciation for just how much abundance is there, not for us, but we are a part of that abundance. And there's a bit of like, it's not sadness, but there's definitely a little bit of despair, I think, coming through, and the frustration of how can we not see and be part of like it seems so obvious.
Yeah.
So there is compassion, but yeah, there's an urgency to both, I will say. Yeah.
All right. Well, let's actually talk about music now. Okay. So we've got that bit done. You got an album coming out next week.
Yeah.
Uh, you may have heard about that. It's depending on how you view this. You know, it could be a sequel, it could be a reflection, it could be a mirror of the debut album.
Yeah.
It's 6 albums along the line. Why now?
Why now for the sequel, or why now
Yeah.
for? Oh, well, why now? Like better late than never for starters. Meaning, okay, let me elaborate on that. You've got divination. You've got the four elements. Each album went there, and We'd always left the other half of divination untold. There's 22 tarot cards in the major arcana. For those that don't know, ranging from the devil, the lovers, the fool, all the way around. These archetypes found in almost every movie, every book. These are archetypes for a reason. When you leave a story like that untold, it does feel like you, as an artist, you need to finish that. So, and breaking up the four elements didn't feel right to be doing it in the middle of that. So this is the final, like the bookend to something that we'd always wanted to do. Don't know if we knew that we would always do it, but it was always this desire out there. So timing's perfect.
Excellent, excellent. When you said yourself previously that this is the heaviest and most consistent album that you've done, and I listened to it last night, and you're not wrong. Do you feel that because there are some subtle differences from previous stuff? How do you feel the fans? Do you feel they're going to be ready for it?
Um, yeah, I think the fans are. Yeah, for sure. Look, I believe like, yeah, it's not like we've just gone and created a completely brand new sound. We've basically, if you look at the arc of yin and yang, black and white being like softest to heaviest, we've basically gone to that heavy realm, and we've just colored that in more. So it's giving more fans of what they know, what we can do, but then exploring like what's the shades of gray around that, and really going into the minutia of that. So it's not the same, but it's just like, okay, if we're stuck in this half, what does that look like without feeling like we're doing the same thing on every track? And so I think we had to go deeper rather than wider. And in that depth, we found like what is the extremities of doing like production that we can do? What's the deepest I can go with my vocals in terms of finding a range? So, and look, the fans have been really supportive. I see no reason why they won't see that, it's coming from a really real place from us and connect with that. Of course, some people are going to be a little bit, like feeling a bit of lost who loved the sound of Kyle's voice. There's always going to be that, but we're giving them other new things to sink their teeth into in this. Yeah.
Mm. We'll get to Carl later on, but thank you. So, um, music, like you mentioned there about the heavy stuff. I mean, there's just breakdowns galore all the way through it. I mean, Orphan, Generation Doom, or Gen Doom, Tyrant. Um, when you guys were writing that, were you also thinking, how are these songs going to translate live? So you could potentially play the whole story?
Uh, no. At this point, if it feels good, it feels good when we're writing it and we're listening to it. It's gonna feel good when it's just amplified, so to speak. I mean, something can be harder to perform, like a quick vocal phrase. That's not something I'm thinking about how that will go live. It's just something that it will come. It will come how that will go live. So yeah, I think hopefully that answers your question. I think it does.
Yeah. So in terms of like you mentioned, there's the lyrics that are in there, there's the music that's in there, and it's very like it comes from a whole bunch of different places, and as you mentioned, it then narrows in, kind of
Yeah.
targets through the speakers. How do you guys like? What's the writing process and thought process? Because it's not a standard, Motley Crue rhythm. Like there's a lot going on in there. So how do you
There's
guys
a
come
lot.
to how do you guys go to the recording process and thinking of that?
Oh man, there's no same way that we do it. There's definitely no same way that we do it. It can come from many angles. We do know the core elements are always going to be like in terms of starts. There's vocals, which are like obviously a huge storyteller, and then there's guitars. Like drums, obviously so important, but you never start a song when you're like just writing the drums. The drums come as like an accompaniment to like really emphasize a vocal part or a guitar part. So really it's coming from those two places. And that's not enough for us to just do like those three things. Like we feel there's always this other voice, which is the production, use of a better term, production. And that can be sounds like ear candy. That's just like, the deepest horn that you don't even know is there that just beefs something up to like things just like spiraling around in your headphones and that sort of stuff. Not doing it for the sake of doing it, but seeing that every song is an opportunity to make it like really unique by finding unique sounds. So the guys spend a lot of time, Ben and Evan, and working with Josh, our producer, to like really um make sure that it's needed in a part, but when it is needed to really like not have it sound cheesy or like, out of place. So
Yeah,
that sort of stuff also on that live question you said will really translate live, I feel, in a big sound system setting. Like it'll almost feel like you're at not a rave, but like, to a degree, there's going to be like, particularly the flood, it will be a whole new
yeah.
experience for fans hearing that live.
Talking about live, because you will be touring in September
Yeah,
around
man.
Australia. You'll be with a Paleface, Gravemind, and King. Is it 310 or 310? I don't know. You'll be with them
It's
anyway.
810.
810, sorry.
It's their postcode. Yeah, it's their postcode. Because I think King would have already been taken. So they went, well, what's where we're
That's kind
from?
of quite smart. Yeah. So what can we expect from the tour? Like, are you going to play this album heavily from start to finish or?
I, look, because this is Kyle's, we want Kyle to come and say goodbye to the fans, and we want to properly say goodbye with Kyle. I feel it's going to be a balance. The
Mhm.
set's not in stone, but we're not going to shy away from the fact that we have this beautiful opportunity with Kyle, and at the same time, an opportunity to play. It is the Incarnation tour to play stuff from the new record. So I feel it's going to be balanced. In my gut feeling, I don't think we're going to sway one way or the other. Um, so yeah, yeah, bit of the old, bit of the new, and we've brought the heaviest bands we could possibly find to like really go to that
Hellphase, yeah.
that shade of darkness that we want to convey. Yeah.
Yeah, that's going to be a very Paleface and Gravemind, definitely. I don't know King's 810, but definitely Gravemind and Paleface. Because then you leave from here and you do America, and you do that with Miss May I,
Yeah.
Bloom, a fellow Aussie in there
Yeah,
as well.
yeah, so good to see another Australian band on there. Yeah, yeah. For those that don't know King, well, King's like David Bowie, like seriously, David. He's the singer of King. He's like a David Bowie in the heavy music world. He just does whatever he wants, and he's probably one of the most talented guys I've seen in this genre. That's so underrated with his ability. So
Yeah,
they're like really phenomenal, actually. And it doesn't always translate to like the masses, but he's not doing it for the masses. He does it for the artist and himself, essentially. So, but yeah, lots of good bands and some good tours. Yeah.
cool. So the with yourself actually, well, your band. So I mean, when the last album came out, that came out around the same time there was a pandemic.
Yeah.
Okay, which would have been really annoying because you guys were really getting a bit of momentum behind you as well at that point. Um, and especially with America, because I mean, the vibe that I get is that the Americans are really frothing over Aussie bands. Are you getting that feeling as well at this stage, especially if you're going over shortly?
Yeah, definitely. I don't know if it's just because of Australian bands, but America in general for heavy music right now, it seems to be like going off over there and they can't get enough of what's inside the borders. So they're like going, what's in America, like what's in like Paleface Swiss. A lot of these European bands are getting quite sizable crowds in America for the first time, and same with the Australian bands. So Yeah, the timing is good for heavy music there. To be honest with you, our fan base, like our listener audience, has always been more than Australia from America. Usually it's like double. It always has been, other than, when we first started out. But ever since we started touring over there, they really dig it. They get it. Yeah,
They get it. Yeah, cool, cool. Mentioning about Carl, so he leaves. I'm not going to go into the reasons why. I'm sure you've had to answer that question a million times, so I'm not going to ask you. Did it though affect the writing of the album?
for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah,
How?
yeah, yeah. Yeah, yeah. No, no. Well, the reason why Kyle's left is like really encapsulated in the farewell video. We did our best to
Yeah.
have it be more than just a statement. And what that video was the statement. And he had decided that he was leaving a year and a half, 2 years ago now. Like it's a long time ago. So, but it wasn't like, hey guys, I'm out here. It was like, okay, well, what does that transition process look like? And he was supportive of whatever, to what capacity he needed to be available for that handover of him, in his departure. And we took it upon ourselves as a challenge, to see, well, okay, well, if we don't have clean singing, how can we find melody in our voices as the remaining members, but as well as in the guitars and in other ways. And also maybe there's melody to a degree, but maybe we find it more in the anthemic catchiness of heavy vocals. So it
Hmm.
was always a part of this new challenge, and it was a fire up our, like, underneath our butts, um, that needed to be lit, because I feel perhaps we were getting not complacent, but like we were used to going, okay, we've done that, let's flip to the clean part now, and like this constant sort of
Yeah.
ping pong thing can be like a crutch, and we can get lazy with it. Like lazy as in like it's the necessary like switch. What else are we gonna do? Like we've got to give him a moment. Back to me. Um, so look,
Yeah.
there's a blessing and a curse with it all. And you've got to find the silver linings in things, to because that's life at the end of the day. Like it's never fixed. So I'm really proud of what we did in that challenge. Yeah, really
Yeah.
proud.
So have you got an idea of what's going to happen after the tour finishes in relation to that?
Well, not an idea, so to speak, but knowing that Carl's not there to come and give 5 songs of every set, there's definitely going to be a leaning towards, well, what are our, like, Survival is one of our big songs that Carl's not even in.
Hmm.
There's a few songs that we have, Worldwide Suicide. So it's not like we'll be not just playing the hits, but I think it's going to be a transition of okay, well, who's on the tour that could maybe do a guest vocal for Earthwalker, the track, a track.
Yeah.
Or perhaps if there's none, we may get like a fill in. We may find a replacement. Maybe that person's just going to step forward who is a clean singer that like scratches an itch in a way that Carl never did, because we wouldn't just replace. It needs to be something different then.
Hmm.
Um, Not better than, but just different. So we're not in a rush, which is good because we've got enough material to do a full set, if not more, without any singing.
And you guys are the perception of you guys is always that you'll do things differently anyway. It won't just be swap
Yeah,
this piece for the same piece. It'll be
yeah,
we're going to try something else. And as you mentioned, it's an opportunity to do something different.
yeah, yeah. Be like a challenge.
Yeah. And that was the interesting thing about the album actually was the first 3/4 of the album, it's quite balls to the wall, but it does go a bit old school at the end there with transmissions. And that
Yeah,
was actually kind of quite different. I was like, oh, hello, where did that come from? Sort of thing.
yeah.
Um, oh, we've
So I
just
can
got
still hear.
yeah, cool. Yeah, so the transmissions part, but where the album finishes like in that old school element, is that the end of that chapter, and it is now gonna, or is it the beginning of the next chapter, if that makes sense, creatively?
I don't think I know. Like, I don't actually have the answer to that question. Like, there's no. The
Yeah.
answer is like, we don't know, but it's where that song needed to fall, in the story of Incarnation. And I mean, it is a end of a chapter, if you will, because that's a diary entry that we will never hear more of from us of that period,
Yeah.
going through what we were going through. But look, it does show what we can do, with the 4 piece that we are. We can go to that place of old school, and it does have a throwback feel. I agree. We all felt that, but it didn't feel outdated in a sense that it didn't feel real. To us, it really felt, or at least to me, it felt really on the pulse of what I was feeling. So it felt very of the now, even though there was some throwbacky kind of guitar licks and things like that.
Yeah.
But
Cool.
I think it's just an exploration again of what can we do in as a four piece without singing. Yeah.
Well, I've taken up my time, so thank you very much, Jake, and best of luck with the album next week. And well, we'll see you when you get here in. I mean, Adelaide, so we'll see you when you get here in September as well.
Thanks, Ian. Thanks for your time. Thanks for listening to the record. I appreciate it.
Absolute pleasure. Thanks, Tiana. Have a good day.
Thanks, Aiden. Have a good one.